You have been holding your breath for so long that you forgot that was what you were doing. Not literally. Not in the way that would have been obvious. But somewhere in the last however many months of this journey, your body made a decision that your conscious mind never agreed to. It tightened. It braced. It drew itself inward in that specific way the body does when it is not sure if the ground is stable. And it has been doing that ever since, quietly, below the level of your awareness, so consistently that it started to feel like just the way your body is. It is not. You are not a tight person. You are not someone whose shoulders naturally live up near her ears, or whose jaw holds tension even in sleep, or whose exhale keeps getting cut short before it reaches the bottom of the lungs. That is something your body learned in the middle of this. And what is happening right now, in the last few days and this week, and in a way that you may have noticed without quite understanding, is that it is starting to unlearn it. Your body is releasing something, and your mind does not have the language for it yet. That gap is what this video is about. If you know this feeling, if there is something shifting in you right now that you can sense but cannot name, leave a like and subscribe so the algorithm keeps bringing you what you need. Drop the words "I feel it" in the comments. Because what is moving in you right now is real. It is significant, and you do not have to understand it for it to be true. Before we go any further, I want to talk about the personal readings that I am offering currently. You came here because something is happening that you cannot explain. Something has been moving in you. Something has been shifting, and your mind has been running in circles trying to make sense of it. That is exactly what a personal twin flame union reading is for. Because the general framework only takes you so far. What is happening in your chart right now, in your specific placements, in the exact degrees where the current sky is pressing on your personal blueprint, that is where the real answers live. Your reading is built from your full name, your date and time of birth, your place of birth. From those coordinates, I pull the current energy between you and your twin, the karmic patterns that are active right now, where you are in this journey, and what your soul is actually moving toward. You receive a personal audio reading delivered straight to your inbox and a detailed PDF report you can return to again and again. Whatever your mind cannot figure out, your chart already knows. The link is in the description below. Your reading will be in your inbox within 48 hours. Okay, let's get back to the video. Today is May 3rd, 2026. Mercury entered Taurus this morning. And before you scroll past that as a minor transit, I want to tell you what it actually means for you right now, because it is not minor at all. Mercury rules the mind, the way information moves through your awareness, the speed and texture of thought. And in Aries, where Mercury has been for the last several weeks, the mind runs fast. It fires quickly, it jumps from one thing to the next, and it tends to stay up in the head, in the fast analytical layer, in the place where the thinking happens before anything has time to settle into the body and become something felt rather than something processed. Mercury in Taurus is the opposite of that. Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Taurus operates through sensation, through what can be felt in the physical body, through what can be tasted and touched and known through direct physical experience rather than through analysis. When Mercury moves into Taurus, the mind slows, not in a way that makes you slower, but in a way that makes you deeper. The thinking drops from the head into the body. The intelligence that has been running at the surface starts to descend into the layer where the felt knowledge lives. And that is exactly where your body has been doing its quiet, invisible work this entire time. The timing of this is not coincidental. The mind slowing into body awareness on a day when your body is in the middle of a release that your conscious mind has not caught up to. That is the universe creating the conditions for you to finally feel what has been happening in you for months. There is something specific about the kind of releasing your body does in mid-separation that never gets talked about, and it needs to be said clearly. It does not feel good at first. That is the part that confuses people. The part that makes them think something is going wrong when something is actually going right. Because the body's release of accumulated tension, of held grief, of the specific physical weight of loving someone who is not physically present, does not arrive as relief. Not immediately. The first thing it arrives as is disorientation. Babette Rothschild, a somatic therapist whose work on trauma and the body has shaped how practitioners understand physical release, describes what she calls the two nervous systems problem. The brain has a conscious system that processes information the way we normally think of processing, through awareness and language and deliberate thought. And it has a subcortical system that processes everything else, everything that arrives faster than thought, everything that is felt before it is known, everything that the body stores when the conscious mind was not ready for it. Those two systems have different timelines, different paces, different criteria for what it means to be safe enough to let go. When the body releases something that the mind has not yet processed, those two systems fall temporarily out of sync. And that out of sync feeling which you may have been experiencing this week, which may be part of why this period has felt strange and unmoored, even as it also feels somehow necessary, that is not a problem. That is the gap between the body moving first and the mind catching up. You have been in that gap this week, and Mercury entering Taurus today is closing it. The mind, slowed into sensation, meeting the body that has already begun to let go. That is the confluence you are inside right now. Pat Ogden, whose sensory-motor psychotherapy work has been one of the most important developments in body-based trauma treatment of the last 2 decades, describes the moment of release in the body as a sequence rather than an event. It does not happen all at once. It happens in stages, and each stage looks like something different from the outside and feels like something different from the inside. The first stage is often what she calls the bracing response, loosening. The specific muscular holding patterns that the body organized around the intense experience, around the recognition of this person, around the separation and the grief and the longing and the specific kind of love that has no clean outlet in the physical world right now. Those holding patterns begin to soften. Not all at once, one layer at a time. And the softening often arrives as an increased awareness of how much was being held, because you can only feel the weight fully once you begin to put it down. This is why the release can feel, at first, like more grief, rather than less. Like the emotions getting bigger rather than resolving. Like something you thought you had already processed is somehow still there, surfacing again, asking for something it has not yet received. It is not a regression, it is completion. The material that is rising was stored below the level of what you had already worked through. It was always going to come after. And it is coming now because your body has finally reached the layer underneath the layer. Your hands may have been unclenching without your permission. Your jaw may have been softer first thing in the morning before you remembered to hold it. Your exhale may be going further down than it has in months, and then stopping again when a thought about him arrives, and the old reflex kicks in, and the body braces against the memory of something that is not happening right now, but that the nervous system still responds to as if it might. That interruption, where the release starts and then something stops it, is not failure. It is information. It is showing you exactly where the most recent stored layer is, and it is showing you that the layer is ready. There is a particular kind of weight that the divine feminine carries in mid-separation that is different from the weight of ordinary grief. And it is important to name it specifically because it is the weight that the body is trying to release right now. It is not just the loss of him, that is part of it, but ordinary loss has a shape that the body knows what to do with. There is a cultural and biological template for how to grieve a relationship that has ended. The body moves through it. It is painful, but the nervous system has a map for it. This is not that. This is the weight of loving someone who is still present energetically. Someone who is not gone, not fully. Someone whose frequency is still in your body in a way that does not have an off switch. Someone you can feel thinking about you at 3 in the morning even though you have not spoken in months. Someone whose absence is somehow louder than the presence of everyone else in your life. Alan Shore, whose research on right brain to right brain communication between mother and infant became one of the foundations of modern attachment neuroscience, has written extensively about what he calls implicit relational knowing, the kind of knowing that lives not in the left hemisphere, not in the language system, not in the conscious memory, but in the right hemisphere's direct body-based experience of relational connection. This is a pre-verbal form of knowledge. It predates language. It operates in the space of felt presence, of energetic contact, of the body's immediate knowing of another body's state even across distance. What Shore's research suggests is that in a connection of sufficient intensity and early depth, which a twin flame connection is by definition, the implicit relational knowing develops a kind of persistence. The right brain's record of this specific person, of this specific quality of contact, does not erase with separation. It remains active. It remains in the body as a felt presence that the left brain, the language brain, the conscious analytical system cannot reach and cannot override. This is why you feel him, not because you are imagining it, not because you are projecting, because the implicit relational knowing your right brain holds of this specific person is a real neurological structure, a real body-based record that continues to operate whether or not there is physical contact to sustain it. And it is heavy. Carrying that record without the physical reality of contact, without the renewal of actual presence that would allow the nervous system to discharge some of what it is holding, is a genuine physiological weight. It accumulates over months of separation. It is not emotional weight in the sense of feelings about the situation. It is a literal somatic weight, a physical heaviness that lives in the body and that the body has been trying to process and release throughout this entire separation. What is releasing now is that weight, not the love, never the love. The accumulated heaviness of carrying the felt presence of someone who is not physically present, month after month, without the contact that would allow the nervous system to complete what it keeps starting. Here is the thing nobody says about the somatic release process in mid-separation, and it needs to be said because it is probably what you are doing right now without realizing it. You keep stopping it, not on purpose, not because you do not want to heal, because the moment the body begins to soften and release, a thought arrives. A question about him, a memory, a moment of hope or fear, or the specific ache of wondering where he is and what he is doing and whether he is feeling any of what you are feeling. And the moment that thought arrives, the body responds. The bracing returns, the jaw tightens again, the exhale shortens. The shoulders rise by 1/4 of an inch and hold there, and the release that was beginning stops where it is, stored back into the layer it was surfacing from, waiting for the next window. This is not a character flaw, it is a nervous system phenomenon. The mind's movement toward him is a real signal to the body, a signal that the attachment system is active, that the attachment figure is not present, that the nervous system needs to do something about that. And the body's response to that signal is to mobilize, to brace, to prepare for either connection or loss. The release requires a different signal, the signal that right now, in this specific moment, there is no threat, that the absence of him in this moment is not an emergency, that the body can put down what it is carrying for long enough to let something complete. Mercury in Taurus supports this in a very specific way, not by making you think about it less, but by giving the mind a different quality of attention to bring to this moment. Taurus does not do urgency. It does not spiral. It does not run ahead of itself into the scenarios of what might happen or what he might be thinking or when the next contact might come. Taurus, when it is governing the mind's attention, stays in the present physical moment. What is here? What can be felt? What is real right now in this body? That quality of attention is not passive. It is a practice, and it is the exact quality of attention that creates the window the body needs to complete what it keeps starting. Something needs to be said about what is happening on his side of this, because it is parallel to yours in a way that is important to understand. He is releasing something too. He does not know that is what it is. He does not have a framework for it. He does not watch videos like this one and sit with the felt sense of what is moving in him with any kind of deliberate attention. What he has instead is behavior that he probably cannot explain and that may look from the outside like nothing meaningful at all. He has been quieter than usual. Not the quiet of withdrawal, though it may look like that. The quiet of something happening internally that is taking up the bandwidth that usually goes into the performance of being fine. He may have been doing things that involve his body more than his head. Driving longer routes, exercising harder than necessary, sleeping poorly, not from anxiety but from a kind of low-level restlessness that has no clear source. His hands have been busy. He is making things, fixing things, working with physical material in a way that his body is directing, even if his mind has not asked for it. That is the divine masculine's version of somatic release, not contemplative, not deliberate, physical, kinetic. The body routing its excess activation through movement and occupation because it does not have the internal architecture for deliberate felt sense work. He is not less capable of feeling than you are. He is less practiced at letting the feeling happen slowly, at staying with it, at giving it a container that does not require it to immediately become something actionable. What is releasing in him is the same weight that is releasing in you. The accumulated heaviness of implicit relational knowing without contact. The right brain's record of you, active and unresolved, pressing for something that his left brain keeps trying to refuse to give it. Shore's research on the male nervous system and affect regulation found specific patterns in how men raised in Western cultural contexts learn to manage relational intensity. The right hemisphere's emotional processing is often connected to the left hemisphere's language and action centers, with less integration than in women, not because of biology exactly, but because of learned patterns of what to do with intense feeling. The typical learned pattern is action, doing something, making something happen, moving the body, solving the problem, creating external motion as a substitute for internal completion. When the internal material cannot be solved, when there is no action that will resolve it, when the thing that needs to happen is not an action but a completion, a slow somatic settling of what has been stored in the body, the divine masculine often goes very quiet and does physical things, and does not know why he cannot stop thinking about you no matter how many of those physical things he does. That is what you are sensing right now. Not absence, not indifference. Somatic process and a body that does not know how to name it. There is a misunderstanding that is worth addressing directly because it shapes how you are experiencing what is happening in your body right now. The release does not mean the love is leaving. I know that is a fear underneath some of what you are experiencing. Because the weight that is releasing, the heaviness, the bracing, the holding, has also been the felt presence of him. And when it starts to soften, when the body starts to put something down, there is a part of you that wonders whether what is being set down is the connection itself. Whether healing means losing the sense of him that has been in your body throughout this entire journey. It does not. What is releasing is the survival response. The nervous system's emergency organization around an attachment figure who is not present. That organization, the bracing and the holding and the vigilance, is not love. It is the stress response that got layered on top of love when the love could not be met in the physical world. The love is not stored in the tension. It is stored in the implicit relational knowing, in Shore's right brain record of this specific person, in the cellular memory of recognition that was there before the separation and that the separation cannot erase. That does not release when the body lets go of the survival organization. It does not dissolve when the bracing softens. It becomes, if anything, clearer, because it is no longer mixed in with the stress. It is no longer tangled up with the vigilance and the hope and the grief and the waiting. It becomes what it always was underneath all of that, which is a pure, quiet, undeniable knowing. This is what the body is moving toward right now, not away from the connection, toward the version of it that does not require your nervous system to be in a constant state of low-level emergency. And that version of the connection, the one that exists in the body after their survival organization has released, is actually closer to what union requires than anything you have been able to feel in the middle of the bracing. I want to pause here and mention something that I have found genuinely useful for this stage of the journey. Not for the spiritual understanding, which you clearly have, but for the tracking of what is actually moving. When you are in the middle of a somatic release process like this one, it can be almost impossible to tell if you are progressing or spinning. The mind loses track. The difficult weeks blur together. You forget what you were feeling 2 months ago and whether it is different from what you are feeling now. The Twin Flame Journey Tracker and Progress Workbook exists for exactly this problem. Not to teach you something you do not already know. To give you a place to document what is moving in your body, what signs are arriving, what stage you are in, and how that changes week to week and month to month. 39 pages. 8 stages mapped out so you can locate yourself with precision rather than guessing. A synchronicity log, because the signs that arrive during a somatic release period like this one are often significant, and they deserve to be recorded rather than forgotten in the next hard week. Daily self-love practice that keeps you in your own body, which is exactly where you need to be right now. Weekly and monthly reflections that create a visible record of your growth so you can stop wondering if anything is actually changing and start seeing it in black and white. The link is in the description. What Mercury and Taurus is offering you right now is not a solution. It is a quality of attention. The mind in Taurus does not fix. It feels. It stays in the present physical moment, in what is real right now in this body, and it brings to that present moment a kind of patient, unhurried witnessing that the fast Aries mind cannot sustain long enough for the body to do what it needs to do. You have spent a long time in the fast mind, in the analyzing and the tracking of signs, and the wondering and the hoping and the rehearsing of conversations that have not happened. That is not a failure. That is what the mind does when the body is holding something it does not know how to put down on its own. But the window that is open right now, in the first days of Mercury and Taurus, is a window for the slower thing. For the mind to drop from the head into the body and stay there long enough to witness what the body is already doing. For the thinking to become feeling. For the analysis to become presence. For the question of what is happening between you and him to temporarily become a less important question than what is happening right now inside the physical space of your own chest. That shift from the mind's relentless tracking of the external to the mind's patient witness of the internal is what the body has been waiting for. It has been doing the releasing work on its own, in the background and sleep and in the moments between thoughts and in the physical sensations that have been arriving without explanation this week. But it can go further with the mind present, with your conscious attention dropping down into the body and staying there. Not to analyze what it finds, to witness it. Not to figure out what the sensations mean or whether they are a sign or whether they indicate that the timeline is moving. To feel them. To let them be what they are without immediately translating them into information about him. That is the practice Mercury in Taurus is handing you for the next several weeks. And it is, not nothing. The body that is witnessed by a patient mind releases faster than the body that is releasing alone. The completion that has been starting and stopping, interrupted by the mind's return to him, has the best conditions it has had in months to actually finish. Let it finish. There is something important about what comes after a somatic release that is almost never discussed in this community, and I want to leave you with it because it is going to matter for what you experience in the coming weeks. After the body releases something it has been holding, there is a period of what practitioners call settling. The nervous system recalibrates. The new baseline, the one without the survival organization layered on top of the connection, needs a few days or weeks to become stable. During that settling period, you may feel strangely quiet, not numb, not disconnected, quiet. Still in a way that can feel unfamiliar after months of the relentless noise of longing and waiting and wondering. That quiet is not indifference. It is the first experience of what it feels like to carry this connection without the emergency, without the vigilance, without the bracing. It is the felt sense of the love without the survival response mixed into it. It may feel so different from what you're used to that you momentarily wonder if something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. This is what the body feels like when it has put down something it was not meant to carry forever. This is what you feel like when the layer of survival response lifts and what is underneath it, which was always just the love, gets to be what it is, without anything layered on top. Stay in it. Let the settling happen. Resist the impulse to immediately test it, to reach for him, to check whether the feeling is real by seeing whether the connection is still there. It is still there. It was always going to still be there. What the body releases is never the love. The mind is going to catch up to this. Mercury and Taurus will help it do that, slowly, patiently, through the body rather than around it. And when it does, you are going to understand something about where you are in this journey that all of the analyzing could not have given you. Not as information, as a felt, embodied, unshakable knowing. You are closer than the mind thinks. Your body already knows it. Trust the release. Trust the quiet that follows it. Trust the body that has been working on this below the level of your awareness, with an intelligence and a patience that your mind is only now beginning to learn from. The link to the personal reading is below, the workbook too. And wherever you are in this, whatever your body is releasing right now that your mind has not yet caught up to, I want you to know that this is not the middle of a journey that is not moving. This is a body doing exactly what it came here to do. Let it.